Okay, again, this first link on Canvas is an introduction to Swift. And so there is a website for Swift itself. Of course, it's swift.org. And if you look at it, it's kind of a website that's all based upon what is Swift and how it came about. Swift came about back in 2014, and basically it's Objective C is a type of object-oriented programming it came out of. Um, they like to, Apple likes to brag about how great they are, so, they like to brag about how great their programming language is, the fast, efficient, and clean, and it won't crash your system, and so on. And of course, yesterday we all learned that, they can hack into my FaceTime, right, and listen to my conversations. So, how fast and it is. So they do like to brag about that, but it's quite I think a very I don't want to use the word easy, but it's an intuitive language, right? I think that's the whole point. A lot of things that you're used to doing and with semicolons and things like that, you don't have to do in Swift, right? And so you'll see how it infers a lot of things. Like you don't have to name a variable. You don't have to use the word var to name a variable. It'll infer that it's a variable, literally, especially if it's an integer or something like that. So it's very you'll see things like that. So there's an introduction here. What is Swift? And I talk a little bit about it. Swift is intended as a replacement for C-based languages. Of course, if you don't know the history of C, of course, regular C was not an object-oriented programming language, right? And so I started with regular C myself. And so, and then C++ came about. I remember when Java came out in 95. I bought my first Java book at Stanford, actually. I went to Stanford and they had a Java book there. So I got a Java book. And then Objective-C has been around for a couple years. And then, they wanted to kind of make their own kind of language and version, and they came out with Swift. Again, they like to tote themselves of being predictable, consistent, not just fast and short bursts that are required to clean up later. There's lots of language with novel features. Being fast is rare. So, of course, it's really easy to build a language based upon your OS. So, you know what I mean? That's sort of the whole basis of Swift is that it's made for your phone, and it takes all the resources that are in your phone or in your desktop, right? The other thing to keep in mind is Xcode and Swift is made to make applications for the desktop. It's made to make applications for your watch. Your TV, I don't know if anybody has the TV, but there's a TV OS that you can build applications around, and of course they have their virtual reality, which I haven't really made anything of that yet, but they do have a VR kind of version now. And then when you get to Xcode, you can choose which one, and the reason why you can choose which platform you're using is that it'll give you the resources for that certain specific device, as well as it'll give you storyboards. Basically, a storyboard is a visual look of the device, and then you can just add things to it and then start programming right. It's like you're programming right on the device itself. There's a blog that goes to it, and so on. And they talk about the releases. The one we're using here is Swift 5.0, and so on. There's some examples in here, and so on. In my thing, I have an example of a link to Apple. This is a good link in Canvas. It takes you right to the sort of introduction to Swift. And this takes you right. So I have a link that's right here in there that takes you to the introduction page. I don't want to have to sit there and go through the website looking for the introduction. There's the introduction right there. So I'm not going to read this to you today because I want to get to Xcode and show you that. But if you have time, just go through this. Of course, in your lab work, you'll do the hello world. It'll teach you how to do that and so on. So this is a good sort of introduction to the syntax. And we will cover this, especially in the lecture, because the lecture goes over that as well. The other book, remember I said there's two books, not the lab book, but the one that I actually talk you through the other book. It goes over the code. Okay, so a lot of the things you see right here is in that advanced book. And I'm just pointing out there's more to reading than just one book. And then, of course, we already looked at playground last class. Remember, I talked about variables. And so it starts you off right away about the difference between a constant and a variable. Basically in programming, we need to store information. And that's sort of how we store information. A variable is something that we can change. And a constant is something that doesn't change, right? We use let for a constant. You can use var for a variable, but you don't necessarily have to use var for a variable. It would infer certain things, and it'll show you that a double is something that has multiple digits, like a decimal point. So a string is something that we'll use a lot. Of course, a string will be something that stores text information usually, but it doesn't necessarily have to be text. It could be a name of something. As you can see here. You'll see a lot of forward slashes. You'll see the /n at the end. You might have seen that already inside of that. That's basically a return. So, like, if you looked at the lab and you saw the / with a little n at the end, you're like, why is there a little stuff at the end of my thing? Well, that's just a return and say, hey, go to the next line. Maybe that's the same.
Is it a print ln also that does the same thing? Print line, new line?
I don't know. Yeah. Then they have double quotes or triple quotes for more than one line. You got brackets that we use a lot. We're going to be using, and you saw that in the game that we played, right? And we were guessing the words, right? Well, we could store them in a list, right? There's a list and also something called a dictionary, and it's a different way of organizing your list of information. A dictionary can import to the list, and we'll learn about that. You can add things to the list. We'll add things. We'll be removing things. We'll be counting things in the list, right? You need to count how many things are in our list. You'll be counting the words and so on. So you use the square brackets for that, and so on. Here's a dictionary. Then, of course, you have your normal comparisons of things. We use if statements to compare things, if statements to loop things, count things up. Right? There's if statements to count things. Okay? We can break a count, and so on. I don't know. Let's see. We can just. I don't know. You can go through this. Again, the lecture content will go through all these things I just talked about, and we will do examples of each, right? The whole purpose of the lecture content is to go through. But this is a link to the whole language right here, swift.org. You can go through. This would be good reading to understand the terms that I am explaining in class. A case statement is comparing something there. Which one is which is a comparison. Or what did the person type in? What word did they type in? And so on. So if you got time, that would be a good overview right there. Again, that was the first link inside of Canvas. The second link is Intro to Programming. This guy talks about what object-oriented programming is. Then I had a PowerPoint I used to go through, but I'm not going to go through that right now. Basically, it talks about all the different programming languages. I think some of you already have kind of a background already. I talked about C, C++, Java. PowerPoint just talks about each language and what each one is used for. You can finally guess what most of that is. I don't have to waste your time going through that. So it's all this PowerPoint does is talk about the different languages. Once you learn one object-oriented language, you can pretty much learn the other ones. It's more about concepts, right? And then you can apply those concepts to something else. The syntax is a little bit different here and there, but once you learn that, you're like, oh, yeah, you can do this, oh, you can do that. I mean, the way you write things in Java is very similar to the way you write things in Swift and so on. And I'm not going to have you watch this video. The guy talks about object-oriented programming, just about the concept of what it means. Basically, each part that we put into our program is it could be a separate object that we can have attributes and they can do things. And so we'll learn about that when we get to Xcode today, and we'll start putting pieces in. You'll put a label on, and that label can do something. You have certain colors, certain text, and we can change it. That will be an object that's in our thing. So I'm not going to watch that video right now. Oops, let's go back. But that's what these are. Again, there's a link right here that we didn't talk about. This is kind of all the different developers in San Francisco. What kind of apps do they make? A lot of these companies are kind of a mix and mash of not just app design, right? They do things like web design as well and so on. So you can see if you visit their website, it'll give you a link to their website. And they like to say what app they made. Like at the last advisory board I was at we had an advisory board at an advisory board panel for Metro Ed, which is a vocational high school. And there was a guy there who made the Macy's app and the Nordstrom app. And I've been telling him to come over here and talk to you all, but he says he would in the meeting, but of course he never. But I will have try and bring Jennifer in. Not Jennifer, I'm sorry, Jennifer. Not Jennifer. What is her name? Michaela. Michaela's making our app for my company, Zircon. And it's still we've been working on it for almost 2 years now. It's still not done yet. But I think it'll be done. It was supposed to be done in March this year, but I think it'll be pushed off to April or May before it gets in the App Store. But I want Michaela to come in and talk to you. So I'll have at least her come in and talk to you about the app and how she planned. I mean, a lot of it was more planning and less programming. And so I'll have her come in and see. Basically, we have an app for our, we have a product called a leak alert. That's a leak detector that you put under your sink or under your bathtub or something. And when water leaks on it, it sends you a message, an email message or a text message. And right now, to set up the product, you have to go to a web address, an IP address. So in the instruction, I do the instructions and I make the videos. So I have to teach people how to use the product and how to set it up, because you have to set the product up to be able to send a text message. Hey, what is my email address and so on. And so the first go around, we have them go into an IP address, and then an IP address is basically a web app that they go through and configure the product using. Basically, it connects to the product using Wi-Fi. You have to have a Wi-Fi network, so the product connects to your Wi-Fi network, then you configure it. Well, the problem with that is that different Wi-Fi networks are hard to connect to. The biggest challenge is having people type an IP address in. They call on the phone, you're like 196.212. I can't remember the number right now, but you have to, it's hard to set up. So the idea was, let's make an app that they just download from the App Store, and it will configure it through the steps for them. Which seems simple enough, but not really simple. The biggest problem really is we want the graphics to look more like our company, right? And it's much easier to make things look more like Apple and using the default things. And that's a challenge. Then I'll have her come and talk to you. I just talked to her again. She'll come and talk to you. She'll talk about planning it. I think the biggest problem is how to develop an app, not the final result. How she went about developing it. But as you can see, there's a variety of different companies. Look at them all. Okay. Again, let's get back. One point though, get back to the guy who made the Macy's app and the Nordstrom app at the meeting. He's Indian. He's from India. Came here. He lived in New York for a while before he came here. And he's like, I have 2 million programmers back in India that can make that app easily. He says, but what I don't have is people that can say that button needs to go here and why it needs to go there. And a lot of it's because there's 2 million programmers back in India, but they're not right there next to you, right? That's the problem. There's this distance, you know what I mean? And it's very difficult to, and then design wise, interface design, UX design, that's the needs that he needs. That's the things that planning is the important part. So look at these companies, see what they do. I mean, it's all good to look and see what's going on. What kind of apps are being built? Look at the App Store. We did a lot of research in the interface design class, right? Looking at apps and doing things, so on. So there's a link right there. Again, there's a link right here to design skills. Right here would be a good reading if you haven't gone over the iOS. Here's some templates for Photoshop, Xcode. These are the planning templates. But the whole human interface guide, and of course, what's the Android system called? To designing interfaces on Android? Material design, right? So, if you should understand the difference and what they do. Right. So, of course, the Android system, right? Android system versus the, where's my Apple system? Oh, here we go. In the Apple system. Again, the programming, the software Xcode can take advantage of making all of these different devices, from the desktop application to the iOS, which of course is your phone and tablet, to making your watch, to making the TV. So, again, following the guidelines and so on. I'll show you how you can use pre-made objects from Apple. Today, when we get to Xcode, we'll be using pre-made objects. But, you can customize it. And but there's a lot of advantages of using their fonts, the fonts that are inherent. And what's the font for iOS? Remember that from interface design? Who was in that class? What's the font? San Francisco, right? It's a version of Helvetica. And what's the font for Android? Roboto. Okay? You should know those things. Reading and looking and practicing. So if you don't have Roboto on your computer, it'd be good to have that. If you don't have San Francisco on your computer, you should have that. I'm sure it comes with pre-made. If you buy an Apple, it comes with San Francisco. So again, here's the guidelines. You can follow them. There's a lot of videos you can watch. Apple made a strategic choice. Back in the old days, they used to make you pay for things, right? Oh, let's make them pay for a compiler or doing this or doing that. Let's make them pay for software to do development and stuff. And they learned that Google's been giving away stuff for free forever, right? And how are we going to compete with a company that gives everything away? So Apple started giving things away. Let's make all the videos free. In fact, Apple used to make their developer videos only work in Safari up until like last year. You had to have the Safari browser to watch a developer video from Apple. Literally, just like, you gotta be kidding. So now they all work on Chrome and stuff. But why forcing people to do something? They're learning, but Apple, it's they're kind of evil. They are evil. So this is a great link. I know this one doesn't take you directly. This takes you to the thing, but I'm sure you can find the link right here at the very top. That'll take you to the main human interface guidelines. And it's really nice to read and understand them, especially the iOS. Most of the things we make in this class will be for the phone or the tablet. So this is the one I would probably go about. In the future, I'd like to go to the phone. I would like to be able to make an iWatch. I haven't really made an iWatch app. I haven't really spent the time. It's hard enough to try and learn how to make things for the tablet as well as the phone, then having to go to the watch. But I'm sure we could figure that out. And so on. So there's a link right there. to that. That was here. You guys all looked at the lab and you learned how to download the stuff, right? Okay. This is the main reading that we will start with and the main lecture content here. Again, we'll go through 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, and then we'll start with the light project. We'll do these in class. Let's get started. We'll do it, just the very beginning ones right here, probably to 1.3. We'll do that right now. Then we'll do a demo of Xcode, and then you can work on the lab. Move on to next week's lab. We just have to go through that whole book anyways. Okay, so let's go through these right now. 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. I think we can get to all of these right now. You can follow along if you want. If not, you can just listen. It's me lecturing, talking, trying things. I'll show you them. What are these lessons? Where do these come from? They come from the reading from that book, the first book. What I'm talking about here is the main reading right here. It's this first book that we looked at. And then here's the remember I told you that you can download the things. So it's this book and this right here. So I have already downloaded that. If you've downloaded last class, you could just go to iBooks. It should still be in iBooks. I don't have iBooks in my dock. No, I don't have. Hold on. Let me find my iBooks and put it in my dock. Let me close this. Let me put iBooks in my dock. Hold on. iBooks. There we go. iBooks. All books. Oh, it's taking all my books from my iPad. Yes, I'm reading Peter Rabbit. No.
Jeff, is it possible to put this also on that link so that we can download the book?
The book's inherent too, because you have to use your I can go over. The problem though is if I download the book on your computer, you'll be linked to my account. Remember, the book is a link to your Apple account. Right? This book is linked to my Apple account. These are the books in my Apple account. That's why you see them all right here, because I'm logged in as me. So you need to have an Apple account and you download the book, and then it's linked to you. And then no matter what device you're on, you're at home. It's gonna, like I said, it starts on the same page you left off. Like today, we'll start in the book and we'll go to whatever page is that we leave. I go home and open my iPad. It starts on that page because it recognizes that. That makes sense. They're all linked together. So whatever computer you're on, it's inherent to your account, not the computer. So I can't put the book on there for you. Just get yourself a Apple ID, and then you can download music, right? You want to listen to music on? Oh, you probably don't even have an iPhone, right? You're an Android phone, huh? Again, the intro book is for the lab, and this is what I meant. This is the one I'm going to go through right now, this one. Okay. Right here is where you download. Let's start the beginning. Here's the beginning. So this is the one that we'll lecture from. It's called App Development with Swift. This will have all the lessons that you will follow. The Apple, remember the Apple one, there's a light one, there's a so this is what you're going to follow to do the assignments. Okay? We'll do most of them together. We do the whole apple pie together. Again, this talks about what kind of assignments you'll do, the flashlight app, things like that. We'll get right up to that probably next week. We'll be doing the flashlight app, so we'll be making apps right away. How the class works is that they have, of course, the Swift programming and then the development environment. The programming is basically what we were just talking about, the Swift language, and then you have the Xcode, which is the developer environment. You learn both of those things through this book. That's what that says. Here's the main assignments. I think we listed some of them. We don't get to the restaurant one. We couldn't get to that. But we did last spring. We did do this, and we did something similar to this, but it was a little bit different. I made it the national park. Remember the national park, the Iceland one? We kind of revised that a little bit. But these are all. This is like midterm project. We saw that before. Remember the cats? Was it cats? Or no, frogs. Frogs on lily ponds. Okay. So the book covers that. You can adjust the artwork to your own. The two main environments need to be running the latest OSs. The latest OSs are High Sierra or the Mojave. Is that how you would say that? Yeah. And you got an Xcode 9 or 10. So you can download it and have that latest version. I think we have 10.2 on these computers, right? Yeah. So that's there. And then here's Unit 1. You learn about the console, open source, playground, results sidebar. Then they give you a little history. I think I already talked about it as well. I think what really came about, really the whole iPhone and the whole Apple now actually came from Steve Jobs when he was fired, right? Back in 90, what was it, 90, whatever, 95 or whatever, when they fired Steve Jobs. The Coke guy was there, right? Steve Jobs hired a Pepsi guy, the CEO of Pepsi to run Apple, right? And the CEO of Pepsi comes along and doesn't like Steve Jobs being such a tyrant or whatever, so he fires Steve Jobs, literally. What does Steve Jobs do? He goes to and starts what? Pixar and Next, right? And so the advantage of that was that Steve Jobs was able to build something from the ground up. Again, I guess you would call it Next OS. In fact, I was living in San Francisco at the time in 1995, and I went to a party in Trolla Hill, and there was a guy, a big, beautiful house with a big swimming pool in the backyard, big, beautiful area of San Francisco, and he's showing me around the house and stuff, and he takes me into his offices, and there's a Next computer there, and he's like, oh, he was from MIT. I make the chips for the Next computer. He was the electrical engineer making the chips for the Next computer. And of course, Next was Steve Jobs, and Next was great. It was a revolutionary OS, and it did Objective-C. It was a new programming, so that's really where it kind of came about, this Objective-C. Okay, and then when Steve Jobs was hired back at Apple, right? Steve Jobs comes back in 98. Back to Apple, and first thing he does is we're going to scrap the old OS. We're going to write a new one. That's where the OS 10 came out, what they call it 10, the X, whatever, right? The OS X came out in 99? Yeah, somewhere around 99. And plus he got rid of clones too. If you remember back in the days, they actually had clones too. Do you remember that? Apple clones, where they actually, third-party people were building Apples and then you could put the OS on it, just like Windows does, right? Anybody could build it. So you got rid of that. We're going to be in charge of all the hardware. We're going to be in charge of the OS. And we're going to be in charge of the developers and all of it in one group. And so that's sort of where this all came about. If he didn't come back and start that, we probably wouldn't have what we have today as far as developer environment and things like that. Again, they promote it as safe, fast, and expressive. Clean optionals, type inference. That's what I just talked about, type inference, where you don't have to specify everything. It'll infer what you want to do. Safety, well, maybe not with the Facebook or with the FaceTime. Automatically reference counting. Again, there's memory management. I think I explained that last class. It's very important because you don't want your app to crash your system. So how to bring things in and out of memory are important. Multiple tuples, generics, I don't know. Whatever it is there. Let's move on. Safe, whatever. They could promote their language all they want. Again, did they have you do the Hello World in the first lab? Not yet? Oh, okay, maybe that was the second one. And then the terminal. I'll show you the terminal today. And then, of course, you looked at playground. And then there's the playground. 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 And well, let's just go through it. And let me let me stop this video for a moment.